Conditional Formatting and Automations in Smartsheet. My name is Charlie Roy. I'm an implementation consultant for Echo Consulting. Echo Consulting is a women-owned project management solutions company. We offer a wide variety of services to a wide range of organizations and organization sizes. Just to go through the rules of engagement for this webinar, please feel free to unmute yourself at any time to engage and ask questions throughout the webinar. There should also be some time at the end to follow up with questions if you have them. Please feel free to take notes as we go throughout, but a recording of this webinar will be made available to you once it's finished. So what to expect today? We're going to be going through kind of the purpose and some use cases for conditional formatting and automations in your Smartsheet sheets. We'll go through how to use conditional formatting and actually create a few. And we'll also go through how to build some simple automations in your Smartsheet sheets. As we go through, we'll be giving a few tips and tricks for conditional formatting and automations. So one of the purposes of conditional formatting is just better organization and easier viewing of content within your sheets and reports. You can change the format on specific rows and columns that meet specified conditions, and you can highlight certain cells that meet specified conditions. For automations, we like to use them to reduce manual data entry, keep stakeholders up to date on relevant tasks, and streamline processes for increased efficiency. So now we're going to head into Smartsheet. And as you can see here, I just have a basic project plan for you. We're going to get started. As you can see here, it's just all white. It's not the easiest to read. And we're going to make a few conditional formatting rules just to make this a little bit easier to digest. So in order to use conditional formatting, you're going to go up to your formatting bar in your Smartsheet sheet, and you're going to click on this button here for conditional formatting. And to add a new rule, you just click Add New Rule, and then you're going to get prompted to set a condition. And then under this format, that's where you can set the type of formatting, whether it be bolding, your background fill of the cell, or the color of your text. And then you're also going to select where that format is highlighted, whether it's just a cell or an entire row. So we're going to start by, I'm going to back out here, this card. And so I want to highlight all of these phase rows, just so that it's a little bit easier to digest within my sheet. So I'm going to go here and create a new rule. And my condition is going to be that this task type column over here is a phase. Now I'm just going to change the format to highlight it. There we go. And I might bold the letters as well. Okay. So now all of my phase headings are going to show up in this light blue, and all of the text within those headings is going to be bolded. So some other conditional formatting that we like to do is based on conditions within the cells. So for instance, if a task is past due and the task is incomplete, it'd be nice to highlight that row. So we're going to do that. So we can see here that we have this received lumber delivery in our project plan. It has a finish date that is in the past, and it is still in progress. So we're going to highlight that row. We're going to add a new rule. So we're going to set the condition that the finish is in the past. So you have a whole bunch of options to select from here. I'm going to select in the past. Okay. And then to format it, we're just going to highlight that whole row in a red color. Now, we're going to come back in and edit that um, condition, because as we can see here, we have ordering the lumber as a task, but that's complete. So we don't necessarily need to highlight that as red. Going back into the conditional formatting, we're going to take this finishes in the past option here, and we are going to add a condition. So it's if the finish is in the past and if the status is not started or still in progress. So now we can see that it's only highlighting that one row. Any questions so far? Or is everybody following along? All right, I'm going to take the silence as everybody's got it. So now we're going to go in as well, because when you're looking at your project plans, it's helpful to look at only the things that are upcoming or the things that you still need to get done. So I'm going to add a formatting here to gray out any of the rows that have been completed. Once again, I'll go back up to add conditional formatting. I'm going to add a new rule. Now I'm going to say, if the status is complete, we're going to apply this format to the entire row. Okay, excellent, cool. So as you can see, by adding some conditional formatting, it becomes a lot easier for you to look at um, any tasks that are upcoming or the real content of the sheet that matters to you. So now we're going to go into how to add some automations here to kind of streamline your processes. And one of my favorite automations is using an update request. So for instance, let's say that we need to schedule a crane in this example, and I come over here and I assign the task to myself. Now what's helpful is in Smartsheet, by using an automation, when I get assigned this task, I can have Smartsheet send me a notification that I've been assigned. So we're going to go through how to build that out. This. In order to create new automations in a sheet, you come up to this automation tab. And in our case, we're going to create a workflow from scratch. However, as you can see, there's all kinds of templates that Smartsheet has available to you. So we're going to go to create from scratch. So here is our workflow. We're going to title this Sign to Alert. Okay. So in an automation, there's always going to be a trigger and an action. And you're also going to be able to add additional conditions as well. So our trigger, we have a few options here. When rows are added or changed, when a date is reached, just when rows are changed, or just when rows are added. In our case, we're going to come down here to when rows are added or changed. And we're going to go when the assigned to changes to any value. You could also set this condition specifically for yourself or another person on your team. Okay. Now we're going to select our action. And there's a large variety of actions that you can choose from. In this case, we're going to choose to alert someone. So this is going to come in the form of an email from Smartsheet. You could also send an alert to a Microsoft Teams channel. You can alert a Slack channel. You can generate a document in PDF form. request an update, request an approval, or a variety of other things. We're going to select alert someone. And now with this alert, you can choose to send it to specific people, whether that be a project manager or someone else, or you can send it to contacts in a cell, everyone shared to this sheet. We're going to select contacts in the cell. So this alert is going to go to the person that was assigned in that column. So we're going to select the field. That is the assigned to. Okay. Excellent. You can also come down here and customize your message with a title. You can write a message to go out with the email, and you can also select which fields, so which columns you want to show up in said email. We're going to skip that part. I'll save this. So now that workflow is up and running. I can go back to my sheet by hitting this back button up here. Now let's say down here that I assign Charlie Roy. There we go. So you want to hit save and also refresh the sheet. And Smartsheet will run your automation. Now, the person in this assigned to column will get an email. That email is going to look something like this. Here we go. It says you have been assigned to a task, mark layout on top plate, Charlie Roy. And as you can see in this option here, I had selected some of the fields that were going to show up. Okay. So you can also use automations to reduce some of the manual data entry that you need to do. So let's say that there is an additional task before scheduling a crane that we need to go through. I go up here and let's say I add a row. And this is my new task. Now, I can use automations to pre-populate some of these fields so that I don't need to go through and check off all of them. So I'm going to go through how to do that for you. So we'll go back up to our automations tab. And we're going to once again create a workflow from scratch. I will note that I personally just have a preference of creating the workflow from scratch versus using the templates. Okay. So we're going to create some default values when rows are added. Okay. So I'm going to leave the trigger just as is. I'm not going to get specific here. So it's just when rows are added or changed. Actually, I'm going to make this just when rows are added. And I'm going to just leave it as when any field changes. This workflow is going to run when that row is added. So that's the trigger. You can also set these workflows to run, say, on an hourly basis or a daily basis or a weekly basis. So you can set your schedule that way. If you don't want to get emails all the time, you can get them all in one lump, say, at the end of the day. So I'm going to come down here and rather than say alerting someone like last time, we're going to come down and we're going to make a change in our sheet and we're actually going to change a cell value. Okay. So when I add a new row to the sheet, I'm going to want the percent complete just to populate to 0 because it hasn't been started yet. I just added it. So something to note when you are changing a cell value is that, as you can see here, it says enter the text you would like the cell's value to change to when this automation runs. So what you enter here is text. So when I enter the number 0, it's actually reading it as text versus a value. All right, and this comes in play importantly if you have a column that is, for instance, a percent complete column. So if I put in, say, 100 here, it would show up as 100%. And if I put in 1, it would show up as 1%. However, if we go back to our sheet, save this here, save, back, and I come over to the percent complete column, and let's say I put in 100. Sorry. Basically, if you enter a value in these percent complete columns versus having the um, like the actual number that you want to appear, sometimes when you enter, say, like 100, that would show up as 10,000%, if you understand what I mean. So versus putting like 0.3 or 0.4, those would then transfer to 30 or 40%. So let's go back to our automation. Go back to that one that we had just created, where rows are added. We're going to come down to change the cell value. So now when rows are added, we're going to put percent complete to 0. There we go. And we're going to change, we can select other columns that we want to change as well. So we're going to put the status as not started. There we go. And we'll also put the task type. We'll default that to task. Of course, this can be changed at a later date. So when rows are added and any field changes, we're going to change the cell value in the percent complete column to 0. We're going to change the value in the status column to not started. And we're going to change the value in the task type column to task. Hit save here. There we go. Always good practice to name your workflow as well. So there we go. Excellent. Now I'll go back to my sheet. And now we're going to try adding a new row again. I'll insert above. I'm going to put new task 1, hit enter. Now, the automation does not run until you save and update the sheet. And sometimes even then, we'll see here, it might take just a couple of minutes for it to come along. But as you can see here, now these cell values have updated without me having to go in and manually do it. As you can see, these ones are still blank. That is because this task was added prior to the automation being in place. I'm just going to get that out of there. Excellent. All right. So another thing that we really like to do at Echo is we like to record dates. This is great for tracking down the road. This is another automation option that you have. So we're going to go in and create a new automation. And what it's going to do is once this status changes to complete, we're going to record a date over here in the complete date record column. Back over. Once again, we can head up to our automations. We're going to create a workflow from scratch. Now we're going to change our trigger because our trigger is going to be a lot more specific with this one. So our trigger is going to be when the status column changes to complete. Yeah. We can come down here for our actions. And one of the options is to record a date. Now it's important that you do have your columns set up as date columns ahead of trying to build your automation, because you have to select from a list of date columns. So we're going to put it in the complete date record. There we go. I'm going to put status complete. Date record. Save. Excellent. So once again, we can go back to our sheet here. Now I come over and I change my status to complete. You can see our conditional formatting running. I'll refresh it. And I should have a date recorded. As you can see, 8/24/22, that's today, in the complete record, complete date record. Excellent. Great. So you can also create automations as well. So like, as you can see here, whoever was in here may have updated some of these tasks to 100%. But you can see the discrepancy where the status still says that it is in progress. So you can create automations as well, just so that you don't run into these inconsistencies in your project plans. You can create another workflow that when percent complete equals 100%, we can change status to complete. Once again, we can do this when rows are changed and when the percent complete changes to 100%. Change a cell value in the status column to complete. Okay. There we go. Back. Okay. So something to note with automations is that they will run after you have created them. So as you can see, we still have this discrepancy here. That's because our trigger is when this is changed to 100%. So this was already at 100%, so the trigger didn't run, and these are not going to update to complete. However, if I come down here and I mark this as 100, save and update it, you'll see that the status will then change to complete. All right. Excellent. So any questions while I still have Smartsheet open here? Or did everybody follow along okay? Alrighty. Great. Well, thanks everybody for joining in on this webinar today. I hope that you got something out of it. Like I said, we will be making a recording of this webinar available to all of you. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions regarding conditional formatting or automations and how you can use that within your Smartsheet. If you enjoyed this webinar, please check out some of Echo Consulting's upcoming webinars. We have one on risk management techniques utilizing a CRADE log. That's coming up on September 7th. And we have another one coming up on September 21st. That is best practices for leading impactful meetings. We will also make a copy of this slide deck available to you all at the end, so you have this information here. Thanks for joining.